Hi, you've tuned into Sacred Erotic Poetry and Sacred Sexuality and Ascension with Gila Nehemia. Today is May 26th. Tonight, those of you who might be listening to this wherever you are in the world, this is being recorded in Israel, so it's still daytime. So tonight we are going to witness the lunar eclipse. It's a full blood moon, super moon in Sagittarius, which is my sun sign. So it is bringing up a lot of different things. Before I go there, I want to introduce myself. Those of you who are new to me, I'm Gila Nehemia. I'm a sacred erotic self-love empowerment coach, mentor, poet, author, spiritual heart guide. So divine feminine healer. And I've been on this journey for about 4 years, trusting the divine, letting go of lots of trauma. I primarily help people who have gone through chronic trauma and are desiring to let go of repeated patterns and open up to their new story and open up their heart and sexual energy to sacred erotic bliss. So without further ado, let's take 3 deep breaths and we will set an intention, or I will set an intention for this episode. So if you can take 3 deep breaths with me at your own pace. We're calling in our light teams, our angels, our guides, God, Source, Universe, Holy Mother, Holy Father, to assist us in this podcast episode of trusting the divine, trusting our hearts, trusting our higher self. We are asking to connect to each other through our heart space and to allow whatever messages to flow to come through, to open up into the new as we totally release whatever needs to be released, and to allow, receive, accept, and really just connect into the flow of the energy that is moving through us. Just invite you to take a deep breath into that. Say any intentions that you'd like to say to yourself or share with me after this podcast. I'm just inviting you to open your heart and your body to receive whatever needs to come through right now. If there are any questions that you might have, ask your light teams and allow yourself to listen and pay attention to any signs that you might be having. Really connect to your own intuitive wisdom. Oh, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So yes, I'd like to start or discuss in this episode, trust yourself, trust God, trust your power, trust your high priest or priestess self. I've been feeling that there has been, because this is such a powerful moon, a blood moon. I've recently learned blood moons only occur with a total lunar eclipse. So depending on what part of the world you're in, you may or may not be witnessing this. I haven't checked even if I'm going to be able to. So I'm just really excited about this in some ways. And I'm also having a lot of ups and downs. So I just wanted to share a little bit of how I'm feeling, and then I'm going into the collective energies. And yeah, I was really excited about this moon as it began earlier this week. And then I felt a lot of resistance in my body, in my cells. I'm also reading The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And that is pretty intense. I'm listening to it on Audible, so it's pretty intense. So those of you who have read it probably know what I'm talking about. He's so wise, and he's a doctor, and he also is like very interested in lots of different ways to heal trauma. So that has been a very fascinating journey that I've been on with that book as well. And yeah, so what I'm feeling is that this true desire to trust the divine, to completely surrender more. You know, it's like I feel that every time I'm on this podcast, or every time I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm surrendering, you know, and it's just to surrender more, surrender the attachment to things and to people and to situations, you know, and really allow yourself to let go and be. You know, it's like, it's so challenging sometimes because we know we're creators and we can create anything, and yet we have this kind of past identity that had all these wounds and, you know, may have been victimized or traumatized. And so it's like, how do you come to terms with that? You know, and I know I did a podcast on accepting your wholeness and receiving and speaking your truth, you know, part of the accept your wholeness. And so this one is really about trusting the path, you know, trusting your presence, you know, trusting your higher self, trusting your heart, and letting go of anything that isn't serving you, you know, really letting go. You know, it's like there's always something I feel in my life. Sorry, my dog. And that has been taking, you know, my mental space, you know, whether it's a relationship or financial struggle or something, you know, my children. And when I just allow and I flow and I trust that God is showing me the way, I trust the power in myself. And I resist going into that space of, you know, how and why and the questions and the sadness and the disappointment. I even just like accept it, you know, all of the things that we've been talking about, you know, it's like this acceptance, this surrender. I've been there's been a situation in my neighborhood, and we're, you know, about trees, and I've just been lying on the ground and just, you know, and I used to do this more often in another part of my neighborhood, but, you know, near the trees. And I've just been feeling so held and so loved, you know, and I just, I'm inviting you into that space of really just allowing yourself to just float and exist and flow with the water, with the trees, with nature, on the pine needles, you know, wherever you are, whatever you have access to, taking a bath, you know, water is just very comforting and loving. You know, it has many, many elements. So, you know, when we have this set intention, you know, we can step into that space of flowing. So I'm inviting you into that space. And also the other thing that came up for me was stopping patterns, you know, realizing when something, and even, you know, certain reactions I have with anyone who I care for, you know, if we have the same thing happening, I could take an example of my daughter, you know, she has certain ways of stepping in, and then I have ways of reacting to that, and that, you know, and we go into this circle, you know, like we go into it, we stop, we go into it, we stop, you know, and I'm just like, I just was like, I have to let go. Like, I cannot control this, you know, still control is still an issue as a mom. And so I can't control it. I'm guiding her, you know, and I'm supporting her, and I'm being honest with her, and I'm sharing my feelings. And so, and then I just, you know, allow God to assist, or allow the higher forces to assist us in whatever needs to come through. And that has been liberating, to allow higher forces in, to allow in this, it's also this mastery, this self-mastery of, you know, being okay with what is, and not reacting anymore. You know, it's this constant practice, you know, at least for me, like, you know, maybe I've mastered it in some parts and I've not still mastered it in others, or I still let some people, you know, pull my heartstrings where I don't let others, you know. So it's just like I'm being more conscious and aware, and allowing myself to find where those boundaries are, you know, and not just take that hard stance and close my heart. This is the thing, right? It's like we're trusting in the divine and we're opening our hearts and not closing them. So it's just like this new way of being. And that's what I want to share today. You know, when we trust completely in the divine, or we trust completely in our higher self, and we're moving into the self mastery, we've never seen this before. You know, we've never had the relationships that we're dreaming about, or this abundance that we may be dreaming about, or this lifestyle that we'd like to have. And part of that is just being, you know, just being and accepting all of you. I pulled some cards from the 13 moon oracle cards, and what came through was super amazing. I just pulled some cards this morning for myself, and then I said if anything is pertinent to the podcast today, I was going to share it. So these were two that I felt were really. I got 3 cards. It was Harmonize, which I actually have never seen. So that was beautiful. Harmonize and Equanimity, the frequency of sapphire. Harmonize, the caption is Sacred Tool of the Light Shield, which was super amazing. And then we had Equanimity, frequency of sapphire. And some of the words that were shared for Harmonize is pattern, center, congruence, manifestation, and structure. And for Equanimity, meditative, peaceful, still, silent, inward, mysterious, detached. And I also got spontaneity, fluidity, present moment, playfulness, whimsy, laughter, joy. And the caption on that is frequency of aquamarine. So there's some beautiful colors here. And in the Harmonize, there's some green and yellow, super, super beautiful. You know, and I read the book as well about it. And, you know, they were both, you know, coming back into alignment, coming back into center, you know, seeing what parts of ourselves that we may not be, you know, okay with, or feel like they're fragmented, and how can we harmonize them again. And I feel like that is a beautiful message as we're moving into this portal of harmonizing, you know, peace and harmony. When I think of music as harmonizing, it just all flows together perfectly. And we can do that in our own lives, you know, with ourselves. And also this equanimity, the frequency of sapphire blue. I'm actually wearing like a sapphire blue tank top. And I've really been feeling this meditative, detached, you know, peaceful, flowing, you know. And so it just really resonated with me, and I thought it might resonate with you too, so I wanted to share that. And I feel like that's the energy we're moving into. You may not be there yet, and that's what this moon is calling us to do. So anything that we're releasing right now, any kind of core wounds or any tiredness, you know, feeling a low vibration, allow that, accept that, you know, and just be present with it. I just wrote a piece on Medium entitled Call to Speak. And, you know, one of the hardest things for me to do was to actually go into my shadow, accept my shadow, and be with myself at that time without trying to run from it, because that was normally my response, was to run, you know, change this, change that, go do, be busy, you know. And so being quiet, being restful, being meditative, being, centering on my own peace and spiritual practice. And even just deciding just to elevate, and not always socialize has been super important for me, because it's created more clarity. And I really believe, like, even with equanimity and harmonize, was saying, like, we are the magnets, go back into the magnet of yourself. And that's how, that's how our life moves. That's how it evolves and revolves around ourselves. So when we harmonize and connect and, have that meditative state, we move into this, as you move with it, you're moving into self-mastery, harmonization, that light shield around you. It is just, I feel that it might be challenging right now, but, continue to stay in it and trust in the divine, trust in any messages that you're getting, and release it to the divine, release it to your ancestors and your angels. Ask them the questions. I feel like this is very powerful. Normally when I feel uncomfortable with myself, or I'm, not sure what to do, I have this tendency to ask another, run to a medium, and, not necessarily always for healing. I just want answers. I want to know, and I even said to myself, I went walking with my dog this morning and I was like, you know what? I really have to be in the not knowing, and the trusting of my heart, and the trusting of God, and allowing whatever needs to happen, because you know what? The universe knows what I want. I wanted certain things for some time, and I'm just allowing it to be, and not thinking about manifestation, just allowing myself to exist and being totally cool with it and with whatever happens. So I feel like it's this energy of trust in ourselves, trust in our wholeness, trust in our highest journey, and detaching from people, things, and just allowing. And we may have been in that energy before and stepped back. And so it's just this continual process of trusting in our path. There's a poem I wanted to read from my book, Surreal Love, Kundalini Awakening Poetry, that you can purchase on any online retailer, both in paperback and ebook formats. And the poem is entitled Uncomfortable Truth. Speak it without concern or consequence. Do not hold back the desire, the feelings, dark and unknown, sensing hesitation. My heart listens and my mind deceives. I want to hear it, to revel in the discomfort, to yell it out loud. My expressions no longer skirt it. I flash it with my fierce love eyes. Words do not pierce my untrusting ego anymore. I am sovereign, free, and whole. Deception is fear. Cheating myself of my sovereign genius. Afraid of opening my loving heart, I stand alone in my actions, extending my hands to those who honor it, enveloping myself in the courage of bearing my soul with others. Dharma rules the red carpet, bleeding from my heart. Again, it's this feeling of, and I'm feeling this as well, like really opening my heart, really keeping my heart open. It's very challenging when I'm unsure. It's so, it's almost like a instinctual reaction to close, and when I meditate, to just feel like, oh, I'm closing, I'm withdrawing. But it's actually a withdraw to open. It's an opening of ourselves for ourselves. Another thing that came up for me, because, we're in the middle of writing our drafts for the anthology, Who Am I? Moving from silence and injustice into sovereignty. and really seeing that thread of patriarchy going through all of our stories. And I was reading some of the drafts as well. And, you know, for my story, I realized like I always wanted to be chosen for something, you know, chosen for the, you know, the special school that I went to high school, chosen for relationships, chosen for, I don't know, positions or something. You know, instead of choosing, you know, and I did choose, I have to say I did choose, I did decide, but it was, I always put a lot of emphasis on the other, you know, who was going to make that decision. And as a creator, we make that decision. And right now, you know, I'm really feeling called to share, like, choose yourself, choose your own joy and happiness, choose just being silent and reveling in that ability. You know, like I was thinking to myself, you know, okay, I get to choose when I wake up. I do take care of my kids and things like that. And but there are a lot of choices that I can make for myself. And not everyone is in that position. And I feel like that's also a choice. You know, we feel like there's, and I was sharing this in my Facebook group, like there's words in Hebrew says, en brira, you know, no choice. I had no choice. And it's not true. You know, it's the way we perceive that choice. And we may feel like the energies are taking us into these low places, into these feelings of being weak and feelings of like, you know, heaviness. And but you know what, this journey was our choice. You know, this unfolding is our choice. This desire to go to our highest soul and heart path is our choice. So I feel like choosing myself is like my biggest opening, my biggest portal, my biggest sovereign choice at the moment, because I am, again, it goes back to worth. I am worth it. I am deserving of everything that I desire, and I am deserving of myself, of my own time, of my trust in the divine, of just being present. That's something else that I wrote about in my piece about call to speak, is like the big thing for me was actually just being present, because I would, you know, move into the observer and I would lose connection to the present moment, so that I could then hide and not be present and not have to engage. And I see this in my children, you know, I see them also doing things like that. And I realized like that was the shift in my life, and in speaking and in trusting and in knowing and listening to the signs, was to be present, to really be present with what is and what is happening in my life, around me, like within my third eye, within my chakras. You know, it's just like within my body. It was allowing myself to be present and giving myself the permission and the space to do that, and trusting in whatever was coming through. So that was a huge shift for me in my own journey. You know, Eckhart Tolle played a huge part in that. And this continuing practice to know that this for me is a place. And there are different solutions for different people regarding trauma. And for me, that was it. You know, not going into the disconnect. I was always disconnecting, you know, whether it was running or disconnecting from my body or disconnecting from situations. So I didn't have to feel. But the actual solution was in the feeling, was in the trusting, was in this complete deservingness and worthiness of my thoughts and voice, and just being a part of the world. So I wanted to share all that with you. And again, you can read that Medium article, and I'll put a link here. And I'll be writing these Medium articles weekly, so you could follow me on Medium. And really just allowing ourselves to heal all of those wounds within us, you know, all of those spaces and places where we feel fear, or we feel like, you know, undeserving, or we feel like we, you know, there was injustice upon us, you know, and understanding like this was all part of this kind of mind control, you know, this inability to truly, fully be aware and conscious, and to question and to know what's ours and what isn't ours, you know, and to be safe in really trusting. You know, I feel like a lot of times I didn't feel safe to trust because I just was always so disappointed. And like for the first time, I'm just like, you know what? Anything that's happening to me is meant to happen. And it's just a part of the journey, and accepting it and moving with it and deciding, committing. That was the big thing I wanted to share today. I've been thinking about it. Committing to me, committing to my mission. You know, it's not about me, it's about the mission, you know, the togetherness, the higher consciousness, this unity, this love that encompasses us all the time. And we want to put it on something or someone or some higher force, but really it's within us. You know, even when I say trust in God, it's also the trust of our own divinity, of our own power, of our own love, that can transform our lives. Our own love can transform our lives. It doesn't have to come from someone else. It's the choosing to be always in love, to see every situation with our heart, with our wholeness, with our compassion, with our kindness. I learned that so much with the Tibetans when I was in, you know, McLeod Ganj with the whole, you know, community. And wow, you know, it's like just a different way of feeling with people. Such kindness, like coming from their cells, and even understanding the injustice that was done to them in Tibet, and having had to leave in very treacherous journeys. And it was just amazing to witness and be a part of this beautiful state of being, of compassion for each other, for ourselves. Whew. And so all this is coming through for this blood moon, this lunar eclipse. You know, so I'm inviting you to allow it all come through, to trust in all that's coming in, and to move into your own being, you know, move into your own love, and to choose you, and really let go of the attachments without letting go of the love within you, because that's always true. And the more you let go, the more, you know, the miracles happen. And it's safe to let go. So if you've been in trauma like I have, you know, and safety was always an issue, so we always created all these defense mechanisms and ways of being because we didn't feel safe. Like this is that energy. This is that centaur where you're, you know, setting that, aiming in the through your arrow, the archer, and allowing it to just fall as it may, and just being okay with that, and being okay with, you know, everything that's happening around you, and allowing it, and understanding that when the time is right, you will be called, or, you know, whatever needs to happen will happen. And first and foremost, to take care of your own happiness and your own self. So just take 3 deep breaths with me to breathe into trust. And to let go anything that doesn't serve that. 2 more times. And my dog agrees to trust in the unfolding, to trust in the voice, to trust in ourselves. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. Namaste, Shanti, Shalom. And if you have any feedback, please let me know. You can find more about my services at gilanehemia.com. And I do appreciate you. And I am sending you so much love for this very pivotal full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. Thank you.